Hey everyone, I hope you guys are doing really well. So I am back with a personal update video as promised. I wanted to share more with you guys just my personal journey of what's been happening with my reunion process. And while things are, while we're not in full 3D physical union at this time, I wanted to get into some of the details of the amazing shift that has happened fairly recently, because really my hope here is to inspire you guys, and hopefully you'll take a lot away from this message, because it's pretty remarkable what I see going on within my twin, within myself, within us. And it's going to be a pretty long video, so for those who can't stay for the whole thing, I will just say briefly up front that things are absolutely shifting within the Twin Flame Collective, especially for those who have been seeing an increase of signs and who are getting that direct message that things will be changing. It is because they certainly are. And looking back, I was getting all the signs. It's not that I was ignoring them. I think that I was just sort of like in disbelief. So definitely pay attention to what's happening. And also just keep in mind that if you are seeing things shift, it doesn't necessarily mean that your union is directly around the corner. It could just also mean that you are receiving a powerful upgrade to prepare for that union. Or even when your reunion process starts to unfold, just be patient with the whole flow of it, because it is a process as well. It could materialize quicker than that and just materialize overnight, or there may be a period where you come back together for healing and then go into a separation again. So I think it's going to look different depending on what your mutual needs are. So just be really free with it and surrender to that process as well. And I just also really want to state for importance that our twins are definitely getting the same messages, the same signs, and are also in contact with our higher selves. And these are things that we all already knew, but it was such a beautiful experience to me to hear it straight from the horse's mouth, to have that confirmation that they are getting all of the same messages that we are. So I think that that's all I'm going to say up front. There has been some interference that I will talk more about ever since coming in contact again with my twin, and I'm having a lot of trouble even recording this and getting this message out to you guys, which I'm not surprised. So I'm going to have to keep checking my phone, and so I'm sorry about any interruptions there. I just want to make sure that this actually records. So I'm just going to backtrack here and kind of repeat some of the things that I said in a prior video. And what was going on was I was strongly guided to reach out to my twin in March, and I was getting this message around January or February, and it just seemed very much like my guides wanted to keep me on track on some sort of like schedule, if you will. And because I was having a busy month and I had a lot going on, I just felt more compelled to reach out to him in April or May. It had been a long time since we talked, almost 3 years, no contact whatsoever. I did send an email like maybe 2.5 years prior to that or something like that, but I didn't get a response, and there was zero contact. So I wanted to just sort of put it off a little bit longer, just because, in some ways I kind of just wanted like my ducks to be in a row, so to speak. And but I kept getting that push, and you know what I mean when I say that, when your guides are really pushing you to do something, and they just were like, drilling it in, like, no, March. So March was pretty much towards the end of the month. March was pretty much finishing up at this point. And And like I said, I had made that declaration I was going to wait till the following month. So wouldn't you know, in the several days left of that month, the divine orchestrated a run-in with him. And so what happened was, on that day, I was actually pretty sick. I wasn't even going to go where I needed to go that evening. Some of you guys know that, my clients know that I'm a migraine sufferer, so it can be pretty debilitating, and I'm like bedridden. And at that time, I had kind of put it out there into the universe, like, look, if I'm not better by this time, I'm not going to go where I need to be this evening. And kind of miraculously, my symptoms just all cleared up at the exact moment that I needed it to. And I felt this very strong guidance that I needed to leave the house. Sorry about the sirens. Like I said, there's a lot of interference that's going on. I've not heard one siren all day, and now there's a bunch of sirens. This is just what happens. So anyway, so I felt that strong nudge, like, you need to get on that subway and get to where you need to be. So around this time, I had been getting the number 606 for weeks, maybe a couple months at that point, and it was a new number for me. I knew that it was something that was very powerful. I knew that it related to my twin flame connection. I knew that it was something really important. And 606, of course, breaks down to a number 3 for the Holy Trinity, and I knew it was powerful, but didn't know what it meant. So I get on the subway, and now, just to explain, in the few weeks leading up to running into my twin, I had been experiencing a lot of interference, a lot of dark energies, a lot of really wonderful things were happening, and a lot of really strange, unexplainable, I could say distortion energies were around me, and it was very clear that something was brewing. And that's always an indicator for me. If I'm being stopped or sabotaged, then it's like I know that I'm doing something right. I mean, even like I said with this recording, I've been trying to record this for over a week now. When I finally made the intention to record this, my phone just broke. It just all of a sudden stopped working. I went to get it fixed. I did a whole recording. The recording just disappeared. I don't know, it's just not there anymore. Now I'm trying to record this again. There's all this noise outside. Regardless of all that, these are the kinds of things that were going on at the time. There was just a lot of pushback, a lot of positive energy to propel me forward, but a lot of this energy trying to stop the progress that I was making. And I felt very, very, very strongly that something was about to happen. Something good was about to happen. And what had been also happening around that time is that this was sort of a new tactic that was being used against me, is like these dark energies were occupying the people around me, temporarily possessing them, you can say, to sort of like target me and to pull me out of my vibration, that kind of thing. And this was new. This is not unusual. This kind of thing happens, but this was a new thing for me, and it was just sort of happening over and over. And when I got on the subway that day, there was a person on the subway that I could tell was directly targeting me, and I could tell that he was influenced by dark energies, at least at that time. And it was a direct attack, and I just know, because I have discernment for these things, and this is actually part of my mission, is to clear a lot of these energies and distortions. So that's why they don't like me, and that's why I have all of this pushback all the time. So this energy was directly trying to take me out of my vibration. So when I got off the subway, I immediately saw a license plate with the number 44 on it, and I felt my guides very powerfully, and I commune with my guides every day, of course. So on my walk, I had a little bit of a walk. I'm just talking with them, and I'm like, okay, what's up? Like, what is what is going on? I know something is going on. I know something's brewing. Like, what are you planning? You know, and I was saying, like, why are they using these tactics now to target me? Like, please show me what's going on, you know? And I was saying, like, you know, I miss my twin. I just want to be with him. I know he would help also protect me from all of this. And I was making the reference to home. Like, my twin feels like home to me. I feel like I am at home with him. And, you know, I know that this place, this 3D dimension is not necessarily my home. And I was making that whole reference to home and making the argument that I wanted to be with my twin again, and I wanted to, I was ready for that next step in my awakening. And I also just want to say, guys, this is kind of funny and odd for me to record, because I know at some point my twin is probably going to be listening to this. So it's just a little... It's just a little odd for me, but I just want to speak freely because I feel that it's important, and, you know, I know that he doesn't care anyway, but, you know, I just want to say hi if you're listening. But it's just kind of a funny thing. So anyway, so I was making that whole reference to home on my walk, and I turn a corner, right, and I had been checking the time, because like I said, I had to be somewhere, and I look at the clock, and it's 6:06. So I'm like, oh, there's that number again. I put my phone down, I take a few steps, I walk, I look up, and there is my twin walking out of a doorway as I am directly pretty much walking past it, walking up to it. And sure enough, the establishment that he's walking out of is called home. Only it's in another language, but he was literally walking out of a place called home moments after I was saying, I just want to be with my twin, I just want to be home, you know, I want my home, that kind of thing. And although I didn't find this out until later on, you know, what that word translated to, and I was just completely blown away. And of course I was in complete shock. I just couldn't believe it. He's like, is that you? And I'm just saying, like, oh my God, like literally out loud. Like, I don't even know what I was saying, because I was literally just asking for him, you know, and I was saying all these things to my guides, and, you know, it had been almost 3 years. And like I said, you know, zero contact whatsoever. We're not even on social media. So, you know, I haven't even seen him in that way. And the thing is, granted, I was in his neighborhood where he lives, but I'm down there all the time for work. I've been in and out of that neighborhood for going on, I don't know, 12 years now, more than that, and I've never run into him before. So there he was on the street, and I just couldn't believe it. So we hug each other, we start talking, and I didn't have too much time to, you know, chit chat with him because I had to be somewhere, like I said. But, you know, we talked for a bit, and I was, again, I mean, I just like was trying to just like process like what was even like going on. And I want to share with you guys some of the things that he said to me, because I think that it is pretty important to see that the divine masculine is very much, you know, awake and aware and seeing what's going on. Now, granted, my twin, my lovely, beautiful twin is very, I can honestly say he's probably more spiritually awakened than I am, and he is very versed in all of this stuff and in esoteric matters and spiritual matters, and is very much advanced intuitively, clairvoyantly, is very powerful, is very, very, very powerful. And so I can say that I feel quite blessed that I can have conversations with him about anything. And, you know, number one, I don't feel judged. And number two, he understands what I'm saying and, you know, has a lot of the same experiences and just gets it, you know. So we have a lot of like deep conversations as far as all that's concerned, you know. So I just want to backtrack something that I forgot to say, and this is important. Yeah, I don't think that I said this. So when I was guided to reach out to him, and I was kind of pushing back that timeline a bit, I still was talking to his higher self, which I normally do anyhow, but I was saying like, you know, since it's been so long since we have spoken to each other, will you just let him know that I'm going to be contacting him? And I'm just going to pause this briefly, guys, because like I said, there's a lot of noise outside and there's this buzzing noise. It literally has not been happening all day. And now that I'm recording, it's happening. Hang on one sec. Okay, sorry about that. I'm just absolutely determined to get this recording up. So I was telling his higher self, like, you know, please let him know that I'll be reaching out and yada yada. And he says to me as we're on the street, he said, you know, I knew that I would be seeing you. I knew that I'd be hearing from you, or that, you know, there would be some sort of contact from you. And I was like, oh, really? Like, tell me more. Like, how did you know that? And because I knew that I had been telling his higher self to sort of like warn him, prepare him that I would be in contact with him. And he said, well, I was guided to go back to the corner where we met. Now, just to explain that, and some of you may have heard me explain this as well elsewhere, we had it's a very long story, so you know, maybe at some point I will tell the whole story, because it is absolutely amazing, the way that we met and the conditions that were going on around that. But we met, you know, years prior to that on Union Street at 1111 is when I put my number into his phone. At the time, I had no idea what twin flames were, what 1111 meant. I was on a very powerful spiritual path at the time, and we spent a good amount of time together. I mean, I think we were together all in all, maybe on and off for almost a year, something like that. And we shared a lot of very powerful, magical moments together. And like I said, because my twin is very much spiritually awake and aware, he understands the importance of these synchronicities and these types of things. I mean, even just meeting at 11:11, while I strongly don't believe he knows the term twin flame or anything like that. That was always a special number for him, and he understands that it is a synchronistic, it is an angel number. So, you know, like I said, we've had a lot of conversations, so he understands the whole workings of things, the divine workings of things, and that it is a powerful thing, and he understood the importance of our connection and our meeting. And so he was strongly guided to go back there to the place where it all began. And I think that this happened maybe a few weeks before our run-in. So he went back there, and he said, and I said, just to be clear, did you happen to already be in that neighborhood, or you specifically went to that neighborhood because you wanted to go to that corner? And he said, no, I specifically felt very strongly guided to just go, you know, to go to that corner, like to just be there for that reason. And he said when he got there, he got a very powerful message, a very powerful knowing that I would be in contact with him again somehow. And like I said, at this point, it had been nearly 3 years that we have had any contact with each other. And he knew, he felt it. And of course, this was a very powerful sign to me that, he, like, his higher self had directly given him that message. His higher self was the one that directed him there. And he got the memo. So I was just sort of like floored. I'm like, I can't even believe this. And he said that he was he found himself like rereading an email, the one that I sent him a couple years, 2.5 years or so prior to that. And so he felt that something was going on. I mean, to just out of the blue start reading my email, go back to the corner where we met, and he said that he had dreamt of me as well, maybe a few weeks before that, something like that. And I had a very powerful dream of him the night before, running into him, and as well, I was having, I was seeing angel numbers like up the wazoo. Like I was catching them like down to the second. They were coming more frequently. They were coming in more unusual ways. I was dreaming about 1111, which I don't normally do. And I knew that was significant. And I was having a lot more dreams about him. I was seeing like his doppelganger everywhere, which never happens. I kept doing like double takes, like his energy was just all around me, like people that looked like him was all around me. And I was even experiencing these like waves of deep emotion that would just come over me, where I would just be brought to tears, and it was, of course, a happy emotion, but I can't even really say that it was happiness per se. It was just that the intensity was so powerful, these waves of this vibration, that that was just my body's reaction was to just cry, like, because it was just so powerful. And I knew it was my twin. I knew that it felt like my twin and like God energy all sort of like entwined, and of course we're all connected, but it was unbelievably powerful, these waves, and they were just coming and coming and coming. So like I knew something was going on, and there were a lot of other indicators there. I knew something was brewing. He knew something was brewing. He felt it as well. He was even guided to fast, and he does fasting periodically for spiritual purposes and for health purposes. And the interesting thing about that is that it's like his body was telling him, I'm sure you guys understand the importance of fasting and how beneficial it is. But it's almost like his body was telling him to prepare for this. And he was even guided to go into like a nesting, sort of like hermit mode kind of period. And he said he had just come out of this sort of nesting period. And I was guided to do the same exact thing. Only this time, and I had been guided to nest before, and I know you guys probably know what I mean by that, but I was guided to nest before, but it was more like in preparation for like receiving an upgrade or that kind of thing. This kind of period of nesting felt completely different to me. It felt like, first off, it lasted longer and it was more intense, and I was like really, really, really strongly guided to just unplug from like everything, and a lot of just unplug from people in general, and to really just protect my energy. It was very powerful and unbelievable. And again, that was another indicator that something was brewing. So to hear him say that he had just also come out of that hibernation hermit mode as well was like, wow. I mean, he like shut off his phone and everything. He like temporarily disconnected his phone. He like really was guided to go in. And I was just like, I can't believe you're getting all the signs, the parallels. You felt it too. And to go back to the fasting thing, I found this interesting because I had the opposite experience, and I was consuming a ridiculous amount of calories. It's like I was pretty much eating for two. It was to the point where I was almost going to see a doctor, because it was like I was ravenously hungry, like I was like a T-Rex prehistoric dinosaur. I just I could not get enough food. It was like, it was unbelievable. So to hear him say he was fasting at that time that I was eating like double calories. I'm like, no wonder. I was basically eating for two. And the whole 3D merge situation with twins is, I find, so unbelievably incredible and fascinating. And I want to share more about my experiences eventually about that, because it's just, I find that so incredible. So I really do think that both our bodies were guided to prepare in different ways. Like, I just needed more calories just to prepare my vessel. He needed less calories. That was what he was guided to do. And I think, like I said, I think it was also, I think I also just was generally more hungry because he wasn't, to sort of supplement the calories he wasn't getting. And I was also extremely tired too around that time. And there were so many indicators that something was about to happen. So he confirmed a lot of that for me, that he was getting all that same stuff was happening. So so I said to him, I'm like, well, what, all of what you're saying is really resonating with me. And I said, he knew that I was going through an intense spiritual awakening around the time that we met. So I did say, like, there's been a lot of shifts since I've met you, and I've been given a lot more information. And I said, believe it or not, I was actually guided to contact you this month, and being as though I didn't, this is why we're running into each other on the street. I'm like, there's no coincidence we're running into each other. And I said, there's a lot that I need to share and explain, and I've been actually guided to reach out to you and explain all this now, the things that I have learned, and the connection and the grander scheme of things and that kind of thing. Because I really was guided. Like, my guides were really like, okay, it's time to just let him know, like, what is going on. You're both at a place where you're ready. And because he is so spiritually awake and aware, he would get it, and he doesn't think this kind of stuff is crazy. So he was so he was he was open to it, and he was just like, yeah, let's we'll talk sometime for sure. And I had to go, so we parted ways. And I think I said this already. I had to do take notes for this video, but I think I said this already, that he had said, or actually he did tell me later on, that he had a very powerful dream of me as well a few weeks before. And I could just feel, as we were standing there, that he was sensing that there was something going on. Like, there was a reason why we were reunited on that sidewalk, because, like I said, he gets all of this. And there was just this knowing there as we were standing, in front of each other, that something was about to shift or take form, that this was almost sort of like round two. And I mean, even across the street from where we were standing, I later found this out, that the phone number for the business on the window, the last 4 digits in bright red letters, is 4441. I mean, you can't make this stuff up. And I get 4s more than any other number. I get 44, 444 all the time. And of course, 4441, you can see that as the 144, 144,000. I mean, the signs were it's just incredible, just really everywhere. So let's see what else I wanted to say regarding that. Okay, so then we talked a couple times, and there were all of these strange energies that continue to surface around me and to kind of block what was going on. And again, I wasn't surprised about any of that. And I had this one absolutely crazy experience. Maybe I'll share it in another video, that one of my lovely clients wound up actually having the same exact dark attack to her. Like, it was just very clear that they were trying to just, get me off my game, and I'm just like, hell no. I'm on to you now, like you're not going to stop us now. So, and sure enough, they can't. I just want to, of course, make that abundantly clear. They can't, but they certainly tried. When we tried to schedule our second conversation, we couldn't even get on the phone with each other. Like, I tried to call him, he wouldn't get the call. He would try to call me, my phone just wouldn't ring. I would send him a text, he wouldn't get it, vice versa. And it was like really clear, like we just could not get on the phone with each other. It was really clear that there was a ton of interference. And finally, when we got on the phone, I'm like, is there a problem with your phone? And he's like, no. Is there a problem with yours? I'm like, no. And we just both knew. Like I said, he understands how all these things work, and he understands the power of the connection, and that there are energies that are at play. And I did let him know that. I said, I know you probably understand this already, but I said, this is what I mean. Like, this is the gravity of the thing, the kinds of things that I want to talk to you about, the importance of this. This is a direct indicator that, they don't want us having this conversation. Like, so, this is heavy stuff. So I said to him, like, we're going to have to have multiple conversations. I didn't want to tell him, like, right off the bat, oh, twin flames and this and that, of course. But I was guided to say certain things on the phone, and we wound up being on the phone, guys, for 8 hours straight. And the thing is about that is that, like, we could have kept going. We could have kept talking, but it was 7 o'clock in the morning. We got on the phone at 11 o'clock at night. We spoke till 7 a.m. the next day. And I hung up only because I was like, I'm absolutely exhausted. I need to sleep a couple hours before I start my day. And if it wasn't for that, we probably would have spoken for another freaking 8 hours straight. And, he's my twin. So obviously we feel very comfortable with each other, and we had a lot to catch up on. And, it was really incredible and beautiful to be able to share certain things with him. And like I said, I was guided to share certain things and not others, and to kind of just sort of like let it trickle in. But like I said, I mean, the beauty of the whole thing is that, like, I don't even really have to say much. We just share that intuitive knowing, and because he's so gifted, like, he just gets it. I mean, he just gets it. I don't really have to explain the whole gamut. And he was in agreement with me that there was something going on. And I even said to him, I'm like, I was guided to reach out to you, and I didn't. And I was explaining the whole, like, 606 thing, and I'm like, and then sure enough, I run into you at 606, and he's like, yeah, there seems to be a real, like, mathematical equation to what's happening with us, because there were all these synchronicities involved and number sequences, and he just sees it. So I did share that what I did say was, he did already know this already, but his higher self came to me 20 years prior before me meeting him, and it was an unbelievable, it's a whole other story, unbelievable experience when that happened. And when I finally met him, it was such a relief to me to place what was going on, and that to place this energy and to say, like, oh wow, like, that was you that came to me 20 years ago. Like, I couldn't understand what was happening. I felt this unbelievably beautiful, intense love and connection for this person that I knew was alive somewhere, and I couldn't place it. And so that's a whole other story, everything that happened there. But I did tell him later on that experience, and when we were on the phone with each other during that long conversation, I said to him, I'm like, remember when I told you about your higher self coming to me years prior? I said, well, you've been continuing to come to me ever since, we separated almost 3 years ago. Your higher self has been coming to me and telling me things and whatever. It's never stopped. And so he said, yeah, your higher self has been coming to me too. And I was like, what did you say? And I was just in such shock because, of course, that's something I always wondered. I'm sure we all wonder that. And, what is my higher self doing? Like, what is she up to? What have I been saying? So he said that I didn't say anything, although I have a sneaking suspicion I may have communicated some things. I think that he just was holding some things back. I could sort of sense that, but I'll find that out eventually. But regardless of that, he did say that I came to him about 5 separate times, and that I didn't communicate anything, and that my energy was just sort of there. It was like very, very much present, as if I was actually there with him. And he said that it was, it was very powerful. I mean, he explained it just as we experience it, and he's like, well, at least you had a reference to what was going on, when my higher self was coming to you, because I said I understand the nature of our connection and what's happening here. So he's like, I didn't know what the heck was going on. So I was completely blown away by that, and I wanted to share that with you guys because, this is, our twins they're experiencing our higher selves as well. Probably not to the same degree, probably not as often, again, for that exact reason that it could kind of freak them out, because we know what's going on. They don't necessarily know what's going on, but they're still comforted by it. I mean, if it's your twin, it's not like, you're completely going to like run the other way, when their energy approaches. So, so yeah, so that was huge confirmation for me. And then he even said the words, you activated me, like talking like twin flame talk, like that's what we say, and he said that, I had helped him heal his heart, and I just felt so comforted by that, and I thought that was really so beautiful because, really that's what the separation period is about. That's what we do for each other. That's what twin flames are here to do for each other, is help each other heal, and specifically heal our wounds and each other's hearts. And I just can't express how amazing it was to hear him say that, to know I provided that healing for him, and to just get all that confirmation that I even activated him. I was like, wow, I just was in shock of everything that he was saying. And so I shared a story with him, and some of you guys, again, have heard me say this elsewhere, so I'm just going to repeat it for those who haven't heard this story, and I'll try and give the short version here because it's kind of incredible what happened. But during our separation period, I think it was like 2 Christmases ago, it was that Christmas where we had that very rare supermoon at 11:11, and I was very strongly guided to stay home. I was supposed to leave town to see my family, and I was very, very, very strongly guided to stay behind. Now, naturally, I didn't want to stay behind on Christmas. I wanted to be with my family, etc., etc. So, I, again, defied my guidance, and I'm like, no, I'm not staying behind. It's Christmas, And so, again, what happens when you don't do as you're instructed. The divine and your guide team will arrange things for you. So something happened that absolutely forced me to stay home. I had to stay behind. And I'm like, okay, I get it now. You want me here, you want me alone, fine. Like, what's going on? So later on that day, I had an incredible experience with Mother Mary on Christmas Eve. That's a whole other story. Her energy came through. And then on Christmas Day, it's very hard to explain, but the energies that came through, I mean, I connect with the divine and with Jesus and with Mother Mary, I mean, on a daily basis. But when they came through to me on this Christmas day, it was the most powerful thing. I can't even explain what happened. I mean, Jesus was directly speaking with me, and it was like he was here with me in my home. I mean, it was like everyone from heaven just descended down into my living room. And I can't even begin to put into words what happened after that, and that experience and the vibration. And I was just like glued to the couch and like in tears. I couldn't even handle it. Like, it was so unbelievably beautiful and intense. And to me, it felt like maybe a half hour, 45 minutes had passed, maybe even 20 minutes. I couldn't really place it. And then when I looked at the clock, like 5 or 6 hours had gone by. So I don't even know what happened. Like, I still can't put all that into words. So, but in that time period, there was a lot of activations that happened and information that was coming through. And so some of the information that was coming through was that, I am indeed a twin flame, because it was a few months prior to that. No, actually not even. It's only maybe a few weeks prior to that, I had come upon the information. And like I said, my twin and I were together before, before twin flames were like completely ubiquitous on the internet. I didn't know what was going on. And I had come to the information during our separation a few weeks prior to this Christmas, and I was still processing it all. I mean, it resonated immediately. I was like, oh yeah, this is exactly what's going on, because I know that that's what we are. So it immediately resonated to the core. But of course, naturally, when you first come upon the information, and I'm sure you guys can share this, like, in the beginning, you're like, what is this really happening? Like, what is this? This is a real thing. This is incredible. And so they came through to confirm that 100%, yes, this is going on. And, this is indeed your twin. Not that was even a question. That was never a question in my mind. Is he my twin or not? But they just wanted to confirm that, you both are twins, and you both are, these powerful angelic beings, and et cetera, et cetera. And it was incredible, the whole experience. And so when I came out of that whole download, you can say, and the energies had left, I looked over to my left, and a plant that I was guided to hold on to, that was completely dead. I mean, this plant was not watered for months and months. It was in a bad part of my apartment where there was like no sun, but I could not throw the thing away. Every time I went to throw it away, there was this strong energy, like, no, keep it, hold on to it. Like, and I didn't understand why. So I'm like, all right, I guess I'll just keep this dead plant. I don't know what's going on, but I'll keep it, I guess. And I mean, it was done. This plant was done. And after that experience happened, I look over the plant, the stems, like the stalks on the plant that were dried and shriveled up, had all grown, bloomed like 3 or 4 inches, even more than that, actually. Some of them grew like 5 inches out of nowhere. And this is obviously impossible. I mean, even if I did water it, even if I did give it sun in those 5 hours, it would not have come back to life. The plant was completely finished. And that was the reminder for me that, this is in fact real. This is really going on. Sorry, guys, I'm just checking my phone. Okay. So that was the indicator from spirit. Like, yes, this is, this is real. That really happened, because I think, partially they knew that I would be, they knew that I would sort of second guess the whole thing. Like, am I just crazy? Did that all happen? So, they knew that I would need this sort of 3D proof that, Jesus was in fact here and provided this great healing and this great information. And I was in fact really divinely guided to stay home on this day for this reason. And I just couldn't believe it. I mean, I couldn't believe it. So I was guided to hold on to this plant and to continue to not water it, not give it any sun. And it still kept growing for 4 months after that. It continued to grow, and very symbolically died pretty much right on Easter was when it started to decline again. And again, there's no way this could happen. At this point, it had been honestly like 8 months that this thing had been watered, and it was still continuing to grow, no sun, and it was a fragile plant. It wasn't like one of those, very strong plants where they can go forever without water. I mean, this was a very fragile plant, and it just kept growing. Impossible, totally impossible. And then, like I said, died around Easter. And then when it died, another plant came back to life that was sitting right next to it. It's like the energy had transferred. So there was a lot of powerful, crazy things that was going on at that time. And so when I was explaining this to my twin, I was like, look, I've been given all this information on the energy that we share, what's going on with us. And I told him about the experience on Christmas Day. I'm like, and God told me who we are and what our purpose is here, but I didn't say what, at that time. But I was trying to make the case, look what happened. This plant came back to life afterwards. And he said, he's like, you're not going to believe this. He said, but I had the same experience. And I was like, what? Are you crazy? What are you saying right now? I was just in total shock. I was like, I cannot believe you are telling me this right now. You had the same experience. And to me, that was one of the most profound things that has ever happened to me in my life. And to hear that my twin shared that same experience, it's just beyond words, And the thing is that his plant came back to life. We tried to sort of figure out the timing, roughly around the time where I was it was about a year before we met, a little over a year before we met. And at that time I was very, very, very strongly guided to go on this very deep spiritual path with God. And it was a very, it's a lot to explain there, but it was a very powerful thing, a very powerful walk that I was guided to take. And no surprise why I was guided to take that. It was all in preparation for meeting my twin flame a year later, right? I had to prepare my energy and so on and so forth. So his plan came back to life right around the time that I was guided to go on the strong spiritual path. It's like that miracle was sort of the energetic impetus that I needed, that then propelled me forward, which, in propelling me forward, that's what brought about the meeting. I just see the whole plan. And his plan came back to life. He was very, very sick and was cured. He felt that he was miraculously cured, and this plant came back to life after that. And it was the same scenario. The thing had completely died. He couldn't throw it away. Was guided to hold on to it. He didn't know why, and I think it was he said it was a flowering plant. I think he said it had white flowers, and he said that when it came back to life, there were just blooms everywhere. The plant had never had that many flowers on it when it was watered and taken care of. And it just continued to grow and grow and grow, out of control. This thing kept growing, and no water. It can still continue not to water it, and it kept growing like a weed, And he's telling me this, and I'm just like, oh my goodness, this is unbelievable that you're sharing this with me. What amazing confirmation. How beautiful is the divine that he would both give us this sign. Knowing that one day we would meet and we would share this information with each other, as further confirmation that this is all real, this is all happening, and we are all divinely guided throughout this process, and that these miracles are just unfolding before our eyes. And the whole plan is just so beautiful and so well thought out. I mean, I'm still processing all of that. I was completely blown away that the same thing happened to him, and just so beautiful. This whole journey is so incredible. So yeah, I'm kind of just like speechless at this point. So so we continue to talk and talk and talk, and after that conversation, let's see, after that conversation, I did say to him, like, okay, well, you know that there is more that I want to tell you, and I'm going to tell you in bits and pieces, so let's schedule more chats and that kind of thing. And, he was on board and everything and was kind of intrigued on what was going on, but then I did feel this energy that did start to pull away again. And, I didn't get the sense that it was like because I had done something wrong, or that he didn't want to continue to explore what was happening. What I was told from my guides from the very get-go when we ran into each other again was that because it felt like, not that we weren't ready for union, but it just felt like that there was more healing to do. I knew that there was more healing to do on my behalf. I had lost 2 people in my life that were very near and dear to me, and I was still like processing that, and there was still more, purging and grief that I was processing, a lot more healing that was going on, and it just felt like we were like 90% of the way there. Maybe not 100% of the way there, and to no fault of our own. It's not that we weren't doing the work. It's just that this takes a long time. This takes years and years of clearing these timelines, and we are purging timelines for the collective. So it's like it's a heavy duty task, and it simply takes time because we also have these 3D lives we have to carry out, right? So, if all of this were to move any faster, we would be completely depleted and exhausted and not be able to live a normal life at the same time. It just, I totally get why this whole thing has to be spaced out, So, so I was kind of expressing that to my guides, like, I feel like that there might be more healing to do on in both parties. And they agreed. They said, yes, in fact, there is. But, this is why you were brought back together at this time, was to spark this final phase of healing before your 3D physical union takes place. Because, and I can't remember if I said this when I was explaining to you guys what my conversation with my guides as I was taking that walk before meeting up to my twin, and I was making the reference to home, but like, and forgive me if I'm repeating myself, but I was saying like, I just need my twin because I felt that there was this other phase of healing that needed to happen, but I knew that it would have only happened exclusively through him, that it's not like there was a healer I needed to go to or a meditation I needed to do. Like, I knew that it was just, all I needed was just my twin to just help in that final phase of healing. It was an intuitive knowing. And this is what I was saying to them. And then, lo and behold, moments later, then he appeared. So they were obviously agreeing with me because they had orchestrated that for some time, that meeting on the street, right? And they were agreeing with me after that encounter, saying like, yes, in fact, you are right. You did need to come together to spark this final phase of healing, and there was no other way to do it but to be in contact again. Even just physically, just having that hug, that embrace on the street, and, speaking to each other and sharing this information, and sharing this energy, is indeed sparking your final phase of healing. And then things will ensue from there. But until that final healing takes place, what your union is going to look like in the interim is, it's going to be sort of like spotty almost, and because I was of course triggered at first, like, oh, why is he pulling away again? And, but then I it was just really my 3D mind that was overthinking things, and I really connected with with Source and my intuitive knowing, I'm like, I knew this from the beginning that this was going to be the process. My guides even told me this was going to be the process, and here it is. So I can't second guess it. And so this is what's been going on, and this is what we both need. And I mean, and I'm just honestly, I'm just so happy that we are even in communication again, that we are, sharing these stories with each other, that all the confirmation that I got, I mean, to go from no communication whatsoever to, having this connection with him on a 3D level is incredible to me, and I'm so grateful for it. And I see the whole picture. I see why it has to happen this way, 100%, because even when from that direct experience of running into him, like, it brought up so much purging, the pain that I said that I swept under the rug of those my loved ones passing, that I wasn't able to process, all of a sudden just came to the surface, and it brought about a huge healing, because it had actually been years since those beloveds have passed, and I was still not able to process my grief. There were two people that were very close to me, so it brought about a huge purge. And again, it's not that I wasn't doing my work or anything. I just didn't know how to unearth that healing, and it only was going to come about from my twin, from my beautiful, amazing twin. And there were also like many tower moments that were going on, and just your twin brings up purging. So there was a lot of changes that needed to be made, and like final touches, and all of this stuff was just sort of like coming to a head. And I texted him because I felt like I kind of wanted to like warn him, like, just so you know, if things are kind of falling apart in your world, just know that it's okay. Because I sensed it. I'm like, if I'm going through this, he's going through this too. I knew he was going through a tower moment, and I wanted to sort of give him that warning and heads up. And he did agree. He's like, oh yeah, I'm already experiencing some stuff. He's like, I kind of figured something was going on, and I didn't explain why in this, in their respect, they were twin flames and da-da-da-da, but I did explain, because of the eclipse energies, and, which is true as well, that was also bringing all of that up, but I kind of wanted to put that out there, and he, so he confirmed all that. He was going through a lot of changes as well, powerful changes, and so, it's all good. I mean, this is what needs to happen. And I don't know how long this whole process is going to be. We're never really communicated that, and I think it's for very good reason. It's obviously not going to be as long as this other separation healing process was. I can definitely feel that. I can feel that these eclipses need to work through us energetically. These very powerful eclipse that's happening on the 27th is that absolutely is going to provide a lot of changes and healing. Of course, not for just him and I, but for the collective. The Lionsgate, the last eclipse of the year on August 11th. So I see the trajectory. I totally get it. I totally get why it has to be this way. I mean, like I said, we still are communicating, so it's not like there is like complete silence. So I'm thankful for that, because I do still want to be in touch with him, obviously, but I get why it needs to stay this way for a bit longer. And again, who knows how much longer. There's so much that's happening right now. I mean, even just my whole Kundalini activation that I did talk about in another video is so powerfully strong, what is going on with me right now, and I know that it is in direct connection from running into my twin, and it's it's tiring. I feel these activations. I need more sleep. I need more time to myself. Like, I really get the whole process, and I get why he needs his space too at this time, and I want to grant him that. And I'm not pushing it. I'm not, being needy and, whatever. So I want to really share this with you guys as an example of what may happen when your reunion comes about, or there may be, like I said, it could happen overnight, but there will most likely be sort of a touch and go scenario where you will come back together for a time period to spark a next phase of healing. And who knows, maybe this will take a few runs, come, touch and go. I don't really know. And that is the whole point, is that I don't care. I'm completely surrendered to this process. I have so much faith in what's going on. I mean, the signs, and again, there's so much that I didn't even share. Like, the signs cannot be more clear that something is happening. I mean, something is happening. I know it. I can feel it. I see it in my meditations. Like, there is amazing, incredible things that are happening that I just trust and know, and I'm surrendered to the whole process. So at whatever phase that you are in your journey, just surrender to it wherever you are. And as long as you're continuing to do your work and you're connecting with your guides and with source energy, and you're doing your clearing, you have nothing else to worry about. You just have to sort of let it all fall into place, and just sort of like let it happen, of course, in conjunction with your effort. You do your job and let God take care of the rest. And I mean, he literally is, I put my life in the driver's seat, way before I met my twin. I put my faith in him, in God. So I'm just letting him sort of take the wheel at this point, and I'm continuing to do what I know that I need to do. And it's such a freeing feeling to just not worry about it, and I can just focus on myself. So please definitely do as much as you can to just put the energy back on yourself and away from your twin, because, and I'm not saying obviously don't send them love and healing every day, but it really does stall the whole connection if you're spending too much time worrying what's going on in their world. Just concentrate on your world, and you will start to see things shift for you. I absolutely guarantee it. And I just have this really peaceful knowing that things are really just coming together exactly how they're meant to. And I just am really, really, really grateful. And I want to just thank all of you guys as well for all of your love and support from the onset of this channel. And it is really something that I'm even still processing, that I'm even sharing this stage of my journey right now, because while I felt deep in my heart that it would definitely come to this point where we would, see each other again and, make headway, it's still at times, it sort of feels like there's no end in sight. And I'm just still in shock, guys, of everything that has happened and what's happening right now. And I'm so grateful, and I'm very moved, and I've been moved to tears on many occasions that this is the juncture where I'm at, and I'm very pleased to share this with you guys at this time on my channel. And I will definitely share more information and updates as I feel guided. And I think that I pretty much said all I needed to say. I know this is a pretty long video, and those, I guess, who felt guided to get through it obviously did. You were guided to hear these messages and receive this inspiration. So yeah, guys, I will upload again soon. I hope everyone is doing well, and I love you all. Talk to you later. Bye, guys.